Someone needs to take the cape and cowl, and it's Gotham City's commissioner. Here's your look at McFarlane Toys, DC Multiverse, Batman Endgame, Jim Gordon as Batman. Following Bruce Wayne's disappearance, Commissioner James Gordon was invited to head up Gotham City's Batman Task Force as the new Batman for a time. Gordon got into shape and became the best Batman he could be, piloting a giant mechanical suit which he affectionately referred to as Rookie. Gordon goes to show you don't need a Bruce to be a Batman. Just before we get a closer look, though, at the Batman Endgame James Gordon as Batman, the tape measure is going to tell us that the figure stands about 7 inches in height, or James Gordon is about 17.5 centimeters tall. Of all places to find this figure, it happens to be at my local Walmart. I've been very openly critical about the supply and stocking status of my Walmart stores. I would always say like Walmart would be the last place you really would want to go to start buying anything action figure, unless you want to buy something that's several years old. And yet, though, lately, they've been doing a pretty decent job of stocking DC Multiverse figures. Now, I don't know if I would thank Walmart for that, or if I would just thank the distribution channel of McFarlane Toys has gotten better here in Canada. We're now starting to see somewhat new figures here. Last time, in fact, I picked myself up a figure at my local Walmart. Just happened to be the McFarlane Digital Batman. Comparing the two figures, James Gordon not only is leaner of a Batman, but he's a little bit shorter of a Batman. Here's what the figure as well looks like with the Nightfall Batman. And even though he doesn't have necessarily a Robin, he's got a Rookie. Here's what the figure looks like with a classic-looking Robin. I don't know if maybe one of the perks of being Gotham City's commissioner is that you get as many hands as you do, but Jim Gordon actually comes included with 4 pairs of interchangeable hands. Just before we look at all of those individual hands, let's look at some of the staples that come included with the figure. Staples that normally come included with DC Multiverse figures is the staple of the figure display stand. Still cast in black, so it's no different there. It still has the DC logo branded down below and still has the peg off to the far corner. How many times have we seen this stand? 100 times? 1,000 times? 1,000,000 times? I hate people that exaggerate. No exaggeration, though, that you can take the one peg and plug it into either one of Batman's boots. No exaggeration either is the fact the figure comes included with a trading card. Instead of actually having a Bruce Wayne depicted on the front wearing the cape and cowl, we get ourselves Jim Gordon. I like the look of this suit. I also like the fact that on the back of the card, it doesn't list the real name as Bruce Wayne, nor does it give anything about the backstory of Bruce becoming Batman. All the focus, all the attention is onto the fact of Jim Gordon becoming Batman, and I like the look of this trading card. So good, in fact, I'm going to put that directly into my sleeve. Okay, maybe not. I'll wait a little bit longer. I don't want to exaggerate. I'm going to be putting that into my sleeve shortly after this review. On to now the figure's hands. And like I said, did we really need this many hands? The figure comes included with 4 pairs. First, he has already gripping hands in his forearms. That's going to accommodate his grappled gun. If you're not so keen on the idea of him having grappling hands, then the figure also comes included with closed fists. The figure also comes included with not the exact same. One is a pointing hand, one is a thumbs up hand, and the figure also comes included with a couple of gestured hands. Again, I don't know if I would say the figure needed necessarily 4 pairs of interchangeable hands. That's a lot of hands that go around, and yet there's other figures on the market that McFarlane has released in the past that come with like, what, a pair of hands if you're lucky. Again, I don't know. Is this one of the perks? I mean, he also gets himself a free cup of coffee, but I don't know if anyone really be admitting that that's one of the perks. One of the perks also is the fact the figure comes included with his grapple gun. It's very different from the typical grapple gun that we're used to seeing in the fact that we've got ourselves a bat symbol as the thing that fires off. I don't know how comfortable this would be, nor do I can't think of a place where he would store this other than maybe the pocket on the side of his leg. But with the bat wing or the bat symbol facing out like this, I would think that would be scraping. You ever have keys in your pocket as you're walking around, or if you're sitting down at your job and then you just continue to feel the keys digging into your leg? Happens to me all the time. I would imagine this would be somewhat similar in the way of pain, just the fact that this would always be digging into your leg. Hold on a second. I think I've got still a little bit of tape on my grapple gun. Let's just take that off, get rid of that altogether. I like the look of it, although I can't think it'd be all that functional. It does fit into his hands with the hands that he has right now. The only problem I would say about the hands, though, is that I find they fall off way too frequently, way too easy. I don't know if maybe the hole in the hand is a little too big, but I'm finding every time I try to change the hands, I will change out the other hands in a second, I find like these hands come off a little too easy. By the way, though, you can take the grapple gun and just fit it into his hands like that. holds decently. You can also do it on this side as well. But let's just say, because I don't do this nearly enough in these reviews, if you did want to change out the hands, let's grab one of the dynamic hands, gestured hands. We'll just pop the hand off, the peg like that. Although this hand is a little harder to remove. We'll just pop the new hand in place. There we go. Just to show you guys, we got to commit to it. We got to show you how everything is done in these reviews. So the grapple gun looks good. Just again, I don't know where he would necessarily store it. He doesn't even so much have like a utility belt. He has basically just a utility pouch. And even then, I mean, the quarters are pretty close. This would have to come off first in order for him to fit that in his pocket. And like having keys in your pocket, it would just continue to dig in your leg every single time you're sitting down. This guy all the time. Let's remove the grapple gun for right now. Put it off to the side. We'll just kind of move his hands. Just take one good sweep. Sweep him off to the side. Put his other hand back in his hand, back into the socket. The other accessory that comes included with the figure, and this is pretty cool, is the fact he comes included with a Commissioner Gordon. Did I say Jordan? Gordon alternate head portrait. Seems a little strange not to see Jim Gordon with a mustache, but you can already see one of the reasons why. I mean, if he had a mustache under the cowl, you would pretty much eliminate half, if probably, 2/3 of the people of Gotham City. I mean, you would eliminate at least the women, I would think, most of all. Although there's a few of them that have sported some facial hair. But I think that it would probably be probably the easiest thing and most safest thing for him to shave the mustache first. So obviously when he would put the cowl on, it would be like Zorro. Zorro would be a little harder because there's a lot of guys there that would have had mustaches. I mean, Commissioner Gordon likes to sport quite a large, very, very sophisticated looking mustache. He has to shave it off, unfortunately, though, the price to pay to be the Cape Crusader in order to sport the cowl. Now, if you did want to change the heads, I guess just before doing that, I want to say, though, I'm really liking the head sculpt this. It's funny, though, that this is a Batman that isn't Bruce, and yet it's definitely one of the better Batman head sculpts we've gotten. I'm almost even tempted to use this head for something else. Although in order to use that with something else, it would have to mean I would have to decapitate it from his body. One good thing, at least, is if you wanted to remove the head, just pop that off like that. You can replace it then with the unmasked James Gordon head sculpt. I'm going to just pop that in place. I want to make sure it's all the way on the ball joint. I had a harder time actually getting it all on the ball joint. I might have to see if I can heat this up just a little bit. But the head sculpt looks pretty good. It's a little jarring, though, just to see this kind of head sculpt or this kind of revealed face underneath the cowl. One thing you can also do, too, with this, so let's just say, for the sake of argument, you like this head too good and you don't want to use it with another figure. I get that. So let's say you want to take this head off, even though it really is James Gordon underneath the cowl, and you want to use this head sculpt. Well, what are you going to do with this head? I'll show you what I have for an idea. I'm going to pop this head off, which didn't take much effort at all. I'm going to pop that back on the head sculpt for Batman. It's a little harder to do, obviously, with the cowl ears there getting in the way. There we go. Pop that back in place. So now we have basically Jim Gordon Batman as he would have come out of the packaging. So we'll just put the figure down here for a second. We'll go back to this head sculpt here. The only thing that's really missing if you want to make yourself a custom James Gordon is the fact that obviously he's missing a mustache. If you're talented enough, you probably could sculpt a mustache in there. Or you could just decide in your own story that James Gordon just decided. Everybody didn't like the idea. They kept saying, Jim, you need to shave that mustache. It's a little outdated. And finally, just with the pressure of his peers, he went in the bathroom, just cried in front of the sink. Oh, I love that mustache. Had to shave all the mustache off. But if you wanted to leave it without the mustache, one idea I did have, though, involved bringing back in Hush. Remember we had a look at this Hush. Now, there were two versions of Hush. There was one that had the neutral expression, and then there was one that had the screaming face. I don't myself love the screaming face. I would rather just have the regular, closed mouth, non-screaming Hush. But he has what I feel to be an ideal jacket. He's got just regular brown gloves. And yeah, you could buy the idea that would just be regular boots and a black pair of slacks underneath. You could take this head off and you could use the James Gordon head sculpt with that instead. Now, the few times I've done this, always the same thing ends up happening. I pop the head off and usually with it, yeah, the ball joint goes with it. No harm, no foul. I mean, you don't have to take yourself a pair of pliers. You could heat this up if you wanted to and try to fish the ball joint out that way. But the convenience of the way they've made the inside of his head as big of a cavity like this is you don't even really need yourself a ball joint either. You literally just take the head and it's just friction forced onto the neck. Did you see that? I didn't even have to put much pressure at all. Just tap it ever so lightly. And the head sculpt actually stays in place. So if you wanted to, even though we don't have ourselves a Jim Gordon just yet, what you could do, either decide to sculpt if you're a talented artist that is, sculpt a mustache, paint the mustache, or if you want to leave it off, you got yourself somewhat of a serviceable stand-in body for at least right now. So you have yourself a Jim Gordon, you have yourself a Batman. How about that? Let's just take that off for right now. We'll go put off to the side. We'll put back at least the long-term plans is probably going to be using the Jim Gordon head, but at least for right now, so I don't lose the head for Hush, just going to pop the head back in place. There we go. Put Hush off to the side. As for the rest of the body here, the body, though, of this Batman is very much similar, although it's a leaner body, but it has a very similar style, especially with the bat emblem, as the Rebirth Batman. Now, you can see like the points are a little bit different. It's a little more pointed and longer down below here. And it also has something a little bit different. It has the bat ears painted all in yellow. But it also has the same outline of yellow as the Rebirth Batman. What's, though, missing is obviously the fact that this guy does not have the utility belt. So it's just, again, strange. Like, I don't know where he would keep all his gadgets. He obviously would rely very heavily on his rookie mech suit, which is something I certainly hope that McFarlane will entertain down the road. Perhaps this is a teaser for something we're going to be getting either as a Build-A-Figure Bath figure, or maybe they'll just release like a mecha-sized version of the mech. Either way, I'd be definitely excited to see that. But this version of Batman is basically all cast here in black plastic. The only few little areas that are actually painted are the symbol that he has on the side of his shoulder, which actually, if you look at it, it's printed on there. It's not like it's sculpted on top of his body. I thought this was a separate sculpted piece, but it looks like it's completely smooth. So they probably could then use this body, I'm sure, for other things. The emblem, though, is also printed in place, too. So, like, there's nothing really that says to this body that it has to be committed to necessarily Jim Gordon. If they decide, like, they want to use this body for something else, they easily could, because there's no additional tooling that needs to be required. Everything essentially is printed onto the figure except for his strap. So the belt is, again, something that drapes down the side of his leg. A large pocket there on the side. Doesn't open up, doesn't store anything. So if you had some ideas, you could take like the utility belt, the grapple gun, you could fit that in his pocket. It would never fit. I mean, look at the size. Unless like the handle folded in and the symbol would fold in, never going to be able to pull that off. And then the lower end of his leg. So it's basically just all like a black cast figure. And then all the points, the majority of the points have all been painted rather than actually sculpted on the figure. So it's a pretty simple and designed figure, but one that I'm sure that they probably could use for future figure release. For the figure's articulation, even though he is a leaner Batman, he's going to have pretty much the same points of articulation as Batman. Jim is going to rotate the head, or I'm going to rotate the head of Jim Gordon. It's going to rotate all the way around. The ball joint allows the head to hinge up that high or look down that low. I mean, look how far low that head goes down. So if he wants to be crying the fact he just lost his mustache, I didn't want to lose my mustache, you could do that. Stop that. The head rotates also, or hinges back and forth this way as well. Upper torso is going to be on a ball joint. The lower abdomen area is also going to be on a ball joint, so it gets a full range of motion there. Arms rotate all the way around on both sides, equally so. You can also move both arms out at 90 degrees. The figure does have a swivel in the bicep. The figure also possesses a double hinge on the elbow, and the hands do rotate all the way around. Just though be careful, especially on my hand. This hand is extremely loose. The legs do split, even though he does really have this belt that connects to the side of his leg. There's enough, at least, leeway they've given us. So essentially it's glued here, but there's all this slack here. And then there's enough, at least, slack that you can easily move the legs out. Where I don't feel like the quarters are too tight where this is going to start to snap. There's enough, like I said, they've allotted for enough space there. You can take the leg and move forward. This is where you have a little more of a struggle. Bringing the leg forward, I think we'll start to buckle the plastic on the belt. And I probably wouldn't advise doing what I'm doing right now, just in case that starts to break that plastic piece right there. Leg swivels at the top of the thigh. I would normally have said the same on this side too, just want to be careful. This also is something that's loose too. So essentially it's glued here, but like everything else, I would imagine this is separate. This is again a separate piece. So it's again really smart on their part that if they want to use this body for another figure release, they could easily just use like, this part is only just a separate piece anyway, so they could use it again. We've already, again, looked at the legs. They move forward and back. There's a swivel at the top. We did all that. Double hinge on the knee. There's no articulation here for the lower leg. There is, however, an ankle pivot, an ankle rocker. You can also rock it this way well. And the figure does have toe articulation as well. I like the figure. I really do like the figure. Now, Jim Gordon, I think, only appeared, like 2015? There was a very limited comic run in which he was actually the Cape Crusader. And the most notable thing about him being Batman was the fact he did have that giant mech suit rookie. I hope, again, like this is only just going to be like a kind of tease for what we may get for a future figure down the road. I hope, if anything, we are going to be getting ourselves that rookie mech suit. We did get one, though, a while ago from Mattel. Mattel had done one for their DC Multiverse line, but I'm hoping a similar future is going to be in store for Jim Gordon, and we're going to get an oversized mech suit rookie from the folks over at McFarlane Toys. Just before I jump to the turntable, I did in fact take that trading card. I put it into my trading card sleeve, just in case anybody was worrying that that card was going to get damaged. It's not going to get damaged. It's with all the rest of my collection. The figure is displayed in an awkward way, obviously, like I did do before with the McFarlane Digital Rebirth Batman. I tried my best to actually have it look like Jim Gordon is holding the cowl in his hand. Unfortunately, though, with the improper angle of it, you can also clearly see that that's a full-size Batman head sculpt. So it just looks like Jim Gordon cut off poor Bruce's head, and now he's carrying it around with him. Speaking of carrying around with him, though, even though he doesn't have it carrying with him right now, he does have the grapple gun. Although I'm still confused as to where that grapple gun's going to actually go. Jim Gordon, I think, was only as Batman in the 2015 run was, I think, from issue 41 to 50. So he didn't really have the cape and cowl for very long at all. But though the most memorable thing about it is the one thing I still hope that we're going to be getting from McFarlane's team. In fact, that's Rookie, his mechanical suit. Who else would be also interested in the idea of getting the mech suit Rookie? Let me know down below. Also, let me know if you've had the chance to pick up this figure, and how do you have it displayed? Do you like to display it, though, with the actual cowled head, or do you like to have it displayed with the Jim Gordon head sculpt? And again, as an idea I threw out there, not that you guys have to necessarily follow any of the ideas that I suggest to you, but if you did want to have a place to do something with that Jim Gordon alternate head sculpt, if you happen to have yourself two versions of Hush, or even if you just have one and you don't really like the look of Hush, you can easily, I feel, use that body because you got that trench coat, you got yourself brown gloves, and you got basically black slacks and black boots underneath. It's a perfect body, I feel, for Jim Gordon until eventually we get a new or ultimate Jim Gordon from McFarlane's team. And just like similar to Rookie of the mech suit, I'd like that down the road, hopefully we get ourselves a Jim Gordon. Not a clean-shaven one where he's always crying in front of his mirror. He's devastated the fact that he had to shave off that beard. I had a glorious mustache, he keeps saying to himself. I had a glorious mustache, and I had to shave it all off just to be Batman. That's the price you got to pay, man, because if you were wearing a mustache, if you were still sporting a mustache, everybody would just know, hey, is that Jim Gordon actually as Batman? You have to conceal the identity, and it comes with a price. The price just happens to be that glorious mustache being shaved off into your sink. What do you guys think of this figure? Let me know down below in the comment section. And again, if you guys did enjoy this video, do it a solid, throw it a like, do it a solid if you haven't already. Make sure you hit that subscribe, and do the solid, of course, turning on the bell notifications. You're always going to get the reminders every single time the person behind the camera, that's me, is posting new material. Speaking of new material, we're not done just yet with McFarlane Toys. There are going to be some more DC Multiverse reviews coming your way in the pipeline, so making sure you're coming back regularly visiting. And I've always got snacks, so your regular visits will be well rewarded with the snack table that I'm always stocking regularly. As always, guys, thanks for watching. See you guys next time.